Hi, my name is Cindy Cisneros. I am a creativity coach and a licensed therapist for creative people, and you have found the full video tutorial out of the Business Basics for Artists series on sales conversations for artists. Now, if you're finding my content for the first time and you're not already subscribed to the suite of Business Basics for Artists, it is a free suite of courses that are video, that are written, that are downloadables, as well as an online community for artists to engage and support each other so that you can remove the obstacles between yourself and your art and the people that want to buy it. We're going to talk about today sales conversations for artists. And if you've seen the shorter introduction video, this is the full tutorial where we're going to be going through an introduction to conversations that you can have when you're selling your work. Now, as always, I have these conversations through the context of my own creative space, which is painting, but you can apply these no matter if you're a painter, a writer, a baker, a dancer, a musician, whatever your creative space is that you're approaching it from. The objectives of this lesson are to identify the key elements of a successful sales conversation. What are the things that we're trying to accomplish, but also to have them from a confident and authentic place, which is really important to us as artists, and to be able to build rapport with the people that may be interested in buying our work, and then talk about some strategies for closing sales so that you don't also feel pushy or uncomfortable, but you're able to really accomplish the goal that you started having these conversations with. As always, if you've seen any of these tutorials before, we kind of break these down into steps. And if you're looking at this in the Business Basics courses, there's a link with the video to click to look at these points in a written lesson also. And I encourage you to look at them together because it really helps you kind of absorb the information best. The first thing is you want to prepare for the conversation. And this doesn't necessarily maybe feel as flowy as we like to feel when we approach things as artists, but what we're going for is a flowy and natural conversation when you're having it. So some preparation ahead of time can really help bolster that in the moment. I've said this throughout these courses over and over and over, but the beautiful thing about these Business Basics is they really do build upon each other. And the concepts really do interlock and weave and support each other. You'll hear me saying some of the same principles as we move through the modules and the topics. And one of them that I continue to say is remember your audience, reflect on your audience, think about your audience. And so again, with your sales conversations, we're going to think about our audience, which is who are you selling your work to? Understanding your work, your creative work, and be ready to talk about it in terms of themes, techniques, the story behind it, but how would you want to tell that to your audience? Because our audience really does appreciate knowing some of those contextual things behind our work that generally when they don't have us there, the work kind of speaks for itself. This is an asset that we can bring to the table when we're preparing for that conversation with our audience. And identifying, again, thinking about who typically enjoys our art, who is this audience, what might they find appealing out of that information, and it can help you in advance tailor the conversations that you would have in terms of the interest and values that your audience would have. Whether it helps you to write some things down to kind of cement that into your brain in advance, or whether it helps you to just jot down some bullet points, put them on your phone, do some preparation in advance so that that conversation can be a little more flowy while you're actually having it, and set it in the context of the audience that you're selling to, that you've based your business plan upon, your marketing upon, and your sales strategies upon. And set clear goals. Decide in advance who you want, what you want to achieve in each sales conversation. Do you want to make a sale, or do you want to gain a new contact, or do you simply want to encourage them to engage with your work? It can depend where you are with each contact in terms of your sales model, which was the previous lesson. If you haven't developed your sales model in stages yet, you could back up a lesson and take a look at that. But think about where they are in the sales stages And even we talked about a CRM in the previous model where you're tracking where people are in your sales stages and what your next goal might be and the conversation you might have with them to help them move from one stage to the next. This is the goal and this is the conversation. And so here's what you're thinking about. Well, I'm going to pick up the phone to talk to whomever, or I'm going to send an email to talk to whomever. The goal of this conversation is going to be based upon what stage they're in and what stage they're moving to next. All of that was knowing your art and your audience. That was the first step. Next thing, and I think that a lot of times for us as artists, this is kind of the feel-good part of sales, and this is building rapport. This is what we want to do. I think this is what we naturally feel good about doing when it comes to our buyers. We want to start by making a connection. We want to be genuinely interested. We want to be generally pleased about speaking with or greeting or starting to talk to whomever we're talking to in whatever format we're talking them to. A great way to do this, and this is something that too comes from psychology, and I do this a lot in counseling and I do this a lot in coaching, are open-ended questions. You may be familiar with these, you may not be. Open-ended questions are questions that are not yes or no. They're questions that give them the floor and give them a chance to just kind of warm up the conversation and talk to you. What brings you to the event today? If you're seeing them at an event, or are you an art collector looking for something specific? Or it could be any kind of question, but it opens up the floor. It opens up the conversation for them to contribute and to talk about or to engage with you, really. And so once you've done that and you've kind of got a connection going, another thing that you could do to build rapport is to share some of your story. Now, I would say to do this strategically because as creatives, we're very passionate people. So take that passion, but think about ahead of time what you want to share. You want to share something that lets your passion for your art shine through. We don't want to overshare something overly personal. Things happen in our lives that are very important that we're passionate about, but this is probably not the space, right? We don't want to overly emotionally connect with somebody on a personal level when it's about selling. But we do want to connect with people about our work, and we want the passion for that work to come out. And this is a good place for that. Share what inspired you to create a piece, or why a particular medium resonates with you, or personal stories that are related to your work to help somebody feel invested in that work with you. And then listen and engage back with them. So when they respond to you, engage back with that feedback, look for clues about their tastes or what they might value. This can help you guide the conversation towards elements of your work that they might really appreciate. Now, this is a natural part of the sales process that we might sometimes feel less comfortable with. Ideally, in a beautiful world, we would get through building rapport, the sale would be done, and beautiful shiny rainbows. But this part of the sales process could sometimes be a little bit less fun, but is actually a very natural and normal part of sales. If you were to think about yourself as a consumer, I think this would make a lot of sense, but we think about ourselves as the seller, and it's a little bit more difficult. You think about, as a seller, addressing objections and questions that your buyer might have. There's going to be some common objections, right? They're going to ask things about pricing, they're going to ask things about size, maybe if it's paintings again, they're going to ask things about framing, they'll ask things about timing, presentation, and this gives you an opportunity to bring up all the logistics. Ask things about, for example, again, if it's a painting, envisioning the piece in their space. If it's pricing, emphasize things, the uniqueness and value of our work we talked about back when we were doing marketing and back when we were doing business plan. We talked about unique value propositions. This is a good time to bring that in and to have this kind of in the front of your mind. What are the things that really contribute to the price and the value of what they're purchasing? And suitability. Help them feel like and help them understand by listening to what their concerns are, how something is suitable for their needs. At this point, you've heard a little bit about them, what they're looking for. You've shared about your passions for the piece. Help them understand how what you're doing can fit their values, their needs, and what they're looking for. And this brings to the next point of turning objections into opportunities. If you're encouraging a buyer to ask questions, this is keeping them there with you longer, and it allows you to address concerns in a way that can provide more information and build confidence, saying things like, oh, that's a great question. This piece is priced this way because it has rare materials or because of the time it took to create. I'd be happy to tell you more about the process. And then you get more excited and then you can connect about something else. And all of this leads to the happy part that we're all here for, which is closing your sale. And there's a couple of different things that we can try in closing the sale. One is called soft closes. So instead of directly asking for the sale, would you like to buy it? Which can, again, feel uncomfortable for us as creatives. Try things like asking them to visualize it. And again, I'm coming at this from an art lens. Bend this into your media and your creative work. But things like, could you visualize this in your home? Where do you think you'd place it? Something that will help them make a decision without feeling that kind of salesy pressure, something that feels organic and inviting, right? And then you can also offer choices. So if there's still some hesitancy there, but they feel that there's some interest, you can try things like, if you're not ready to decide today, I could hold the piece for you until tomorrow. Or I have a similar piece in a similar style that might be a good fit for you as well. This allows, and this is another kind of point from psychology, this allows your buyer to feel like you want to work with them, you're invested in them, you're giving them options. They don't feel trapped or backed into a corner. It doesn't feel overly salesy. They're invested in you. This is a supportive space that you're coming to them in rather than a buy, because you don't like it, they don't like it, no one likes that. And then the last thing about closing the sale, and this is really important. This is really important whether you're selling online, this is really important whether you're selling in person, is to provide next steps and to make them simple and to make them clear. So when your buyer is ready to make a decision, make your next steps clearly outlined, whether it's payment options, delivery options, framing recommendations. Make sure it's smooth. Make sure it's easy. Make sure you're reinforcing confidence in you, in your work, in everything that has happened in the conversations and the transactions up till now with the purchase experience. Because too often we've thought about everything. We've thought about everything. We've made a beautiful piece. We've communicated it so well. We've displayed it. We've gotten it into a gallery. We've done all the things. We've marketed it. We've got this great business plan. And then the actual kind of purchasing of it is kind of a sloppy mess. And we could lose, even if we still make the sale, we could lose a collector. It really does make a difference to work out the kinks in that final transaction and make it just this beautiful, seamless, lovely, friendly, positive, reinforcing experience. And I'm sure you can think of in your own mind examples, and I'm not gonna, as much as I can think of my own examples, I'm not going to share those because I don't want to endorse or not endorse anything. But I'm sure you can think of your own examples of, yes, I can think of, I've returned to buy something from a specific place because the purchase experience has been good versus everything was good except the purchase experience was, and maybe I didn't go back to that. So think about that final detail too. And then, especially because we're small businesses, this is one of the beautiful things small businesses can do well. Follow up with your buyers. Express gratitude, whether you send a thank you note or a thank you email, show appreciation, leave a positive impression. This can lead to repeat sales or referrals for sales, but also stay connected. So whether it's on social media or a newsletter, let them know when you've got new work, give them first opportunities, or give them opportunities as a collector to see work first or get special pricing or various things. Let them know that you value them so that you can turn a relationship from a one-time buyer into a long-term supporter. Overall, sales conversations, try to look at them as sharing your passion and finding the right fit for your art and your buyers because they're out there, but you're focusing on building rapport, addressing concerns, and confidently guiding the conversation to create meaningful interactions that will successfully lead to sales. We're not focused on pushing everybody in the world to buy our stuff. With practice, these conversations can feel more comfortable and help you grow your business and connect with others who really appreciate you and your work. I hope you found this helpful. If you have questions about this, if you're stuck in your business building somewhere and could use more support, I am available for one-on-one coaching sessions. If you're in the Business Basics for Artists courses, there is a section for if you need more support to get in touch with me. Best of luck getting your art out into the world. Keep doing what you're doing. Bye-bye.